Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the IQNet public webinar on innovative schemes. My name is Pedro Alves, and I'm IQNet Managing Director. I'll be moderating today's session. On behalf of IQNet Association, it's a great pleasure to welcome participants from across regions and sectors to this global exchange on innovation in conformity assessment. Today's webinar takes us on a journey through innovative schemes developed by or in partnership with IQNet members, showcasing how conformity assessment continues to evolve in response to emerging social, technological, or sustainability challenges. Over the next few hours, we will hear concrete practice-driven examples ranging from healthcare to food safety, from organizational well-being to ESG performance, as well as sector-specific certification models. Together, they illustrate how innovation can enhance credibility, trust, and value creation for organizations and stakeholders alike. Without any further ado, welcome again, and let us begin with our first presentation. I call Professor Christopher Hofer. Hello, Professor.
Hello,
welcome.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Professor, allow me to briefly introduce you. Professor Hofer is head of anesthesia at the Schultness Clinic in Zurich and a recognized leader in driving quality, patient safety, and innovation in perioperative medicine. Professor has an extensive experience spearheading major institutional projects, including 9001 certification, digital clinical information services, enhanced recovery after surgery programs, and hospital-wide quality initiatives. So he combines clinical expertise with strategic healthcare management. Professor has also more than 120 scientific publications and is a preeminent national voice in advancing standards, and is currently serving as president of the Swiss Society for Anesthesiology and Perioperative Medicine. Professor Hofer is the founder and co-developer of ACERT in collaboration with the IQNet member SQS, Swiss Association for Quality and Management System. And with SQS, they participated in further development of the ACERT scheme, carried out corresponding pilot audits, and it's currently offering the audit service to its client organizations, so through SQS, with the collaboration and the partnership with Professor Hofer. Professor Hofer, again, welcome. A pleasure to have you on board, and the floor is yours.
Well, thank you for that kind introduction and for having the opportunity to talk to you and to present our work from the last years. Well, basically, it's a national certification program dedicated to anesthesia or the perioperative care in Switzerland. And it all started basically 10 years ago because we had at that time basic data set from all our institutions in Switzerland, and it was really a minimal data set. And at that time, we expanded the data set and we built a national registry. And we felt that we need to have a strategy, an overall overarching strategy, quality strategy for anesthesia in Switzerland. And the strategy was passed by the General Assembly of the Society in 2019. Well, and it's not a coincidence that this was at that time, because we formulated there also that this strategy is based on a quality model after the Nebedian, formulating structure, process, and outcome in the perioperative setting or in medicine, public healthcare, healthcare in general. So looking at that period of time from a national point of view, you can realize that our government, the federal office, also worked on the quality development in healthcare. and they formulated also that we have to assure quality, and they wanted to build federal national quality programs. And we felt that we had to do our own work to define our quality, the quality of our own work. So at the end of the day, we expanded our registry, including performance and process data and quality indicators. And we said also we need an audit, the certification program, the A-Cert. Well, basically, that was the starting point to discuss the certification. And we all had the experience of an ISO certification, and we thought, basically, this is a good basis, but not necessarily does it meets the needs of anesthesia. So we had then the opportunity to have SQS as a partner. As you can see on the left-hand side, there is the board of the Swiss Society. And this is, the directive body, so to say. On the right-hand side, you have the executive body with SQS. And we developed the whole program in collaboration with SQS. And in the middle, you have the platform, the organization platform, and that's our foundation for patient safety. So the core of the certification program is the catalog, or what we call also landscape, because it depicts the perioperative process. You can see on the left-hand side, okay, this is pre-anesthesia, anesthesia, and post-anesthesia. And we developed in total 6 different dimensions along this perioperative process. One is the structure. Second, these are the documents, the standard operating procedures and guidelines, the necessary documents along the process, and also execution. And then we have 2 overarching dimensions, the general requirements and the typical quality dimensions. I don't go into detail here. When you have questions, please ask. And then we built a web platform because we said, okay, every member that will participate should do that via web, so that you have all your data in the web and can communicate also with the certification group via web. And the certification process, as you can see, starts with the registration, and then you have access to the catalog, and you do the self-assessment, which basically takes 4 to 8 months to perform. So that's the experience now from different centers. And then you go through the document review, and then you have the second self-assessment, the optimization of the whole catalog, and then the audit in place takes place for 1 to 3 days. And afterwards, then you get the certification. Meanwhile, we have now 10 centers that have the certification. We started with the first 5 to 6 centers to test the catalog, to test the certification program, and then moved on. We have now different kinds of centers, different types of centers, starting with outpatient clinics, and then going through minor clinics, bigger ones, and also university hospitals. Well, looking now a bit at results of our certification, you can see we have here now the 10 centers, and what you can see from the heat map, that the end result of the certification is a very good one. We have some minor deviations for the general and the quality dimensions, the first ones up there in the different institutions, and for all other dimensions along the perioperative process, we have, a very high rate of accomplishment. But when we look at the whole process, you can see that there is an increase for all dimensions coming from the first self-assessment through the external audit for general quality, structure, guidelines, documents, execution. So we had a clear improvement during the certification process. Well, and that makes us also a bit proud because we have really the impression that we improve our own quality. We had notes for improvement. So we don't talk about deviations or any negative things, but we talk about improvements. And basically we had a total of 47 improvements on average 12. And when we looked at that, the centers say, okay, they are very useful for most of them. A lot of them had already been assessed, roughly 75%, and solved around 60% when we questioned the whole thing and when we wanted to understand what was going on after 1 year. And then looking at other dimensions of the certification, the benefit of the certification. So the hospital board thought, oh, this is definitely a benefit for the whole organization. And we also felt that the collaboration issue has really improved because it's an interdisciplinary, interprofessional platform in the hospital anesthesia. So collaboration is key. And then it's getting interesting. Anesthesia per se thought, oh yeah, 68% a benefit. And then you can see the lowest bar, the positive feedback from the anesthesia team. So the members of the anesthesia team, they were not also sure about the necessity of the certification program. But the hospital board, every board member thought, oh, this is a good thing and that should be advanced and should be improved also, and had quite a high impact on the organization and on the structure and process in the hospital. So, but we all understand that we had an issue with the outcome parameters, and based on our experience from the last 5 years, we felt that we had to improve the identification of the quality at the end of the day of the results. So we start now to have a large study integrating roughly 50,000 patients, looking at outcome parameters, and we use now our database that we've built in the last 10 years, and also all members of the ACERT team to look at dedicated data from outcome when patients undergo surgery in Switzerland. As you can see, 40,000 patients. We look at the mortality and what we call also morbidity, so complications that occur in any hospital, in any healthcare system. And the goal is always to reduce all these complications, because when complications occur, then it's getting expensive. A lot of money is spent just to treat all these complications. So we need to understand the complications. And honestly, we don't have any reliable data on that. And that's a worldwide problem. It's not only in Switzerland, but it's a worldwide problem to get these data. So that's what we're doing in the future, or what we're trying to do at the moment. And you can find all the information about the certification program, the ACERT certification program, on our website. Unfortunately, it's only in German and French and not in English at the moment, but all I've said, all the slides, everything you can find there. And if there is any questions, you can contact me. Thank you very much.
I now invite Hamidi, Mohammed Hamidi Yusuf. He's currently serving as a head of commercial services and IT section of Management System Certification Department of Cerium QAS International, which is a Malaysian leading conformity assessment body and an IQNet member. With a strong foothold in the field of management system certification, Hamidi brings extensive expertise in aligning organizational certification services with emerging global standards. Under his stewardship, the CSI section is entrusted with maintaining the integrity and credibility of audit processes across various management system standards. Hamidi is also responsible for ensuring that all certification activities strictly adhere to an internationally recognized procedures, thereby upholding the organization's accreditation status and reinforcing trust amongst clients and stakeholders. And apart from that, I consider Hamidi a close friend of mine. So thank you, Hamidi, for being there. Thank you for your availability. And we look forward for hearing from you on a very interesting topic, which is Muslim hospitality.
Thank you very much, Pedro, for such a good introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Muhammad Hamidi Yusuf. You can call me Hamidi from Sirim, Malaysia. And for these tonight's sessions, or for these 2 days sessions, I will be glad to share with all of you in terms of one of our homegrown systems or management systems. We call it as Muslim-friendly hospitality services, in short, MFHS requirements, MS 2610/2015. This is what we will go through for today's sessions. I will give you kind of introductions, some statistics about how we see the demand of the schemes that I will be introduced to you afterwards. Then we have a look on some of the key areas of Muslim-friendly hospitality services, and then we just have a look on the certification process. Yeah. So on the right-hand sides of the slides, you could see this is the logo, or this is the certified marks that we will given to any organization that's certified with this standard Muslim-friendly hospitality services. Some background. I would like to give some sort of introductions of my organization, Sirim. Sirim has almost 2,300 staff, and we are offering services that consist of smart solutions. We are focusing on the standards and security designs. We are focusing also on the metrology, on the calibration and measurement. We are conducting the assessment, focusing on the certification and inspections. We also focus on research with regards to the industrial innovations, and we also has business entities that focus on testing, training, and technology. So Sirim, an organization based in Malaysia, we are proud to offer these services that we put it acronym as Smart Solution. Just a little bit in terms of the context and also some statistical figures, yeah, that I would like to share in how we see the demand of this standard. So based on the report of State of the Global Islamic Economy Report 2023-2024 that produced by DINA Standard, we could see that the Muslim spend on travel was valued at US 133 billion in 2022. This is an increase of 17% over the previous year. And by 2027, according to this report, it is a forecast to reach US 174 billion, growing at compound annual growth rate of 5.5%. Yeah? So this is one of the facts that we could see why our Muslim-friendly hospitality services could suit with this demand. The next important part, or the next important statistical analysis, is based on this report, there is a growing youthful Muslim populations. In 2023, the Muslim population exceeded 2 billion, which is 25% of the global populations. And by 2050, it will reach 2.8 billion, which will consist about 30% of the global populations. And in 2023, Muslim youth and young adults aged between 15 to 29 represent about 27.8% of the world's youth and young adults. Yeah, so this is another statistical that we could see there's a demand on this standard Muslim-friendly hospitality services. And next, the other important points here, overall GDP of OIC member countries reached US 25.4 trillion in 2023. And the centrality of Islamic values to Muslim lifestyle and consumption patterns, we could see from Pew Research Center study, religiosity has increased significantly compared to 2 decades earlier, and a large percentage of Muslim in Asia Pacific and the MENA region, 70 to 90% have rated religion as very important in their life. So perhaps this is what I can put into the context, how we could see the demand of Muslim-friendly hospitality services based on these statistical figures. This is the standards that we are proudly would like to introduce to all of you. It is a Malaysia homegrown standard. We call it Malaysia Standard. In short, is MS, Muslim Friendly Hospitality Services Requirement. In short, it is a Sharia guided requirement for tourism industry players in setting up an assurance system. The Sharia terms is referring to Arabic words that mention or that's focusing on the moral and ethical guidance on how to live a good life, to treat others well, to do business honestly, to manage family effectively, and act with fairness and responsibility. So basically, this is the Arabic word that that represents Sharia. Yeah. So basically, the aim of the standard is to ensure that products and services provided for Muslim travelers. So this is how we can relate to the previous statistical figures that I mentioned to you earlier. Yeah. So we want to ensure every product and services provided for Muslim travelers are in accordance to the Sharia principles. And we are proud to mention to you at the bottom of the slide, Malaysia, Saudi Arabia, and Indonesia is lead the index of 81 countries with strongest Islamic economy ecosystems. So when we mention Malaysian's name, yeah, to every Muslim or OIC countries, they know very well that Malaysia is champions on the part of the Sharia. And we are very proud if we could present or if we could expand this homegrown management systems to other countries that are interested to know, because we want to ensure that product and services provided for Muslim travelers are fulfilling, yeah, and following these moral and ethical guidance that we call it as Sharia principles. Basically, this standard MS 2610, it is actually focusing on any business entities or any organizations that managing Muslim-friendly tourism product and services. So any organizations that has the accommodation premises, that offering tour packages services, as well as providing tourist guide services, they are applicable to these standards and can go for this certification. It is only not applicable, yeah, to health and beauty facilities. Other than that, in every organizations that focusing on accommodation premises, tour packages, and tourist guide services, they can opt for these Muslim-friendly hospitality services. Now, let's have a look on the requirements of the standard. The standard ID is MS 2610 2015 requirements. And based on the standards, it has 4 main clauses requirements that we will check for compliance. It consists of clause 4, which is general requirements. Under this general requirement, the sub-clauses are management responsibility, personnel and responsibility, Muslim-friendly hospitality management system, the training, the documentation and storage, as well as communication. And next, in clause 5, it focuses on the specific requirement. Under this specific requirement, you will have the subclauses of general, accommodation, tour package, and tourist guide. Clause 6 is we need to ensure the organization is fulfilling the legal requirements. And lastly, clause 7 is compliance. Yeah. And this is all the requirements that need to be checked and need to be demonstrated before we can certify the organizations or we certify it with Muslim-friendly hospitality services. And when we look in terms of the terms and definition, the accommodation premises that being highlighted in this document, it refers to any building that provides lodging or sleeping accommodation to tourists. It can be hostels, hotels, inns, boarding houses, rest houses, homestays, and lodging houses. Meaning that we are going to certify any business entities that providing these accommodation premises if they can fulfill all the requirements that I mentioned to you earlier. Next, in terms of the definition of the tour package, this standard says that it is any tour and travel arrangement that are described in any media, publicly marketed, promoted, or advertised through any media. It can be include transportation such as the air, coaches, ferries, railway, cruises, accommodations, and other tourist services. It can be a short journey, trip for leisure activities and sightseeing or shopping. So any organization or business entity that providing tour package services, it is possible to be certified under this scheme. Next, for any organizations that provide tourist guide services. So in this standard, the tourist guide services defined as provide services to tourists or other individuals by guiding them on tours and receive remunerations for the tour guiding services and must obtain a license in accordance with the related act. For example, in Malaysia, we have the Tourism Industry Act 1992, Act number 482 that govern these tourist guide services. This is among the important points that I just extract from the requirement of the standard to give you some sort like an ideas how to show or how to demonstrate the compliance to the requirement. Under clause 4, general requirements, I think all of us agree. Yeah, for every management system standard, we need to demonstrate leadership and commitment. In this case, the management shall appoint a trained Muslim officer with responsibilities and authorities to ensure effective implementations of the Muslim-friendly hospitality services. As usual, the needs of necessary competence of personnel is very much emphasized. Need to provide training for all personnel. Documented procedure is also need to establish. Properly observe the placement, storage, and handling of documents which contain Quranic verses. So there are among the important points highlighted here. Under clause 5, specific requirements is focusing on the accommodation premises. It need to ensure that pets from non-halal animals are prohibited in the accommodation area. Ensure that the room is suitable for Muslim guests, such as its cleanliness, qiblat directions, space to perform prayer. And in terms of the food beverage, kitchen shall be certified by halal by competent authority. Times and meal for sahur and iftar. Sahur and iftar is referring to fasting during a Ramadan time, and usually during sahur or during the Ramadan time or during the fasting time, usually the Muslim do not eat or drink from dawn until sunset for 1 month. Yeah, so that's basically on during the Ramadan time. Yeah, and washroom equipped with bidet and shower or water hose. Floor shall be kept clean, and the amenities products provided in the washroom are suitable for Muslim use. And for tour package, the specific requirement related to any organizations that provide tour package services, the transportation used for ground transfers shall comply with applicable safety and regulatory requirement. Upon request, the package shall be able to provide transportation for women guests exclusively. Tourism products included in the package shall reflect in the Islamic values experience, and the product selection shall not include the premises with the following core activities. This is the list of product which is not permitted, focusing on the liquor and pork, gambling and gaming, pornography, entertainment activities, non-Muslim worship places, and also other activities deemed non-permissible according to Sharia. And for tour package services, its specific requirements is itinerary shall have allocated scheduled time for prayers, sahur and iftar during Ramadan. Appropriate facilities and food beverage included in the package are certified halal, and Sharia compliance protection scheme is included in the package. So this is for the tour package services. And for tourist guide, need to possess valid license, follow the code of conduct and ethics, dress a modest and professional dress code, act in courteous manner in accordance with Islamic values, having basic knowledge on the requirement for Muslim travelers, keep the guests informed on their prayer time, facilitate ample time for guests to perform their prayer, ensure all restaurants and eateries are certified halal by competent authority, and in the absence of halal food, provide the guests a list of halal certified eateries. So this is among the requirements being emphasized under the clause 5, the specific requirement. And for clause 6, legal requirements, all the product and services shall comply with legislation, including so the organization need to ensure the compliance towards this. And lastly, for clause 7, the compliance, the organization shall ensure that the requirements related to the product and services are Sharia compliance. Again, I mentioned to you, Sharia is a moral and ethical guidance on how to live a good life. We will see a bit of introductions or a bit of information about the Sharia in the next slides. So Sharia principles is actually being introduced by the very renowned Muslim scholar by the name of Al-Ghazali and also Al-Shatibi. These two renowned Muslim scholars mentions among the Sharia principle is the preservation of progeny. It focusing on the ethical, human resource and social responsibility, focusing on recruitment and employment policies must align with Sharia ethics, prohibition of activities that promote immorality, offering maternity, paternity benefits, and so forth. The second point of it is preservation of property, focusing on integrity in business and asset protection. Next, preservation of religion, or on the aspect of Sharia compliance. Number 4, preservation of life to ensure workplace safety and product services integrity. And lastly, preservation of intellect to focus on knowledge, awareness, and ethical conducts. So this is among the Sharia principles that being highlighted in the standard. And this is all the journey for the certification process. I believe is almost the same for the other management system standards. Usually the flow is the organization that are interested to go for this certification, they will apply. We will conduct for the stage 1 audit. Usually during the stage 1 audit, we will check on the adequacy of documentation. For the stage 2 audit, we will check on the implementation of audit itself. Then we will go through the approval stage, and last is a certificate granted. And as usual, there will be a surveillance audit and also recertification audit. So I think that's all about it, Mr. Pedro. I would like to thank you for such a great opportunity to share with all the IQNet members in terms of our Muslim-friendly hospitality services.
And we move forward for another presentation, this time from Portugal. Olá, Susana. Susana holds a degree in environmental engineering from the Portuguese Catholic University and has over 25 years of experience working with different management systems across multiple sectors of activity. She has been part of APSER, which is an IQNet member in Portugal, for 13 years, where she has progressively taken different roles of increasing responsibility. She currently serves as unit leader for the supply chain assurance area and as a scheme manager for the Amphori, BSI, SEDEX, or SMETA audits and SLCP schemes in the field of social responsibility, as well as for the Amphori BEPI and HIC-FEM frameworks in the environmental domain. Susana has been a member of the Portuguese Technical Committee 219 since 2021, And this committee has the scope to develop the Portuguese standard 4590, well-being of organizational happiness management system. It was developed and later awarded as the Portuguese Normalization Award 2024 by the Portuguese Institute of Quality.
Hi, Pedro. Thank you very much for the presentation. We were inviting to talk a little about this standard for all the world. It's the aim of this standard to have several people that want to have this in their companies. So I will present the standards, and I will make the context for why this happened, and showing that it is possible to manage this type of emotional issues. Well-being and happiness, it's not something concrete that we can measure quickly, but I will explain how can we do it. So, sorry, the slide. So, and why and for what? So what we know is the emerging challenge at work involved at this time, recognizing that organizations are living systems that need people, okay? Work is no longer just a source of income, it's a central part of life. And the alignment between the personal purpose and company's proposal, it's now crucial, especially in this new generation that start to work. We know that today the work context presents psychosocial risks, for example, talent shortage, ESG pressure, stakeholder expectation, workers and families, in this case, that need to be met. And of course, the productivity issues since a long way of the context. This is how this standard emerged, transforming well-being into a management issue, not optional benefit, okay? So I would like to highlight some factors that contribute to decrease of productivity at work. We talk about absenteeism and presenteeism. While measuring absenteeism is more feasible and it is related to absence from work, whether paid or unpaid, measuring presenteeism becomes a challenge. Workers are at the company, but are not as productive as expected. This phenomenon exists, is widespread, and it is important to understand why it happens. In Portugal, the Order of Psychologists conducted a study that presents the number of workdays lost due to these two factors. The results indicate that presenteeism is increasing, and when a correlation is established between this phenomenon and the loss of productivity, it is found that the impact is equivalent to the loss of effective workdays. We can see the numbers, and we are talking about 24 days lost per worker per year, data from 2022. So, and now we found ourselves in the middle of this demanding context. The question is no longer should we have, but rather how should we have? In a 2022 article from Harvard Business Review reported that happy employees are 31 more productive, 85 more efficient, and 300 more creative. In 2023, University of California published similar findings. On average, a people employee is 31 more productive, 3 times more creative, and generates 37 more sales than others. There is an important point here. It is not motivational rhetoric. These are consistent figures. And what do they tell us? First, well-being is not a soft topic. It is our direct driver of performance. Second, that happiness and productivity are not opposites. They are interdependent. Third, that ignoring this evidence carries measurable costs, whether in absenteeism, presenteeism, or turnover. By looking at this data, we can identify concrete guidance on how to address the context that I have outlined. This was the guiding principle behind the creation of the standards, to acknowledge the real change of the world of work and translate that understanding into a practical management tool. It is not about offering isolate benefits. It is about integrating well-being into the company's management system. It is the difference between treating symptoms and building a sustainable performance model. Now, those involved in the development of this standard were the Portuguese Institute for Quality, which management standards in Portugal, and the Business Ethics Association as a sectorial standardization body, which creates a technical standardization committee composed by companies, associations, and individuals from civil society who share the same goal to create a standard for organizational well-being and happiness. For 2 years, the standard was written and rewritten until its publication in October 2023. In 2024, it receives the annual standardization award from the Portuguese Institute of Quality. It was a great pleasure for all the committee elements. The standard has already been translated into English. We propose to ISO. So let's take a look in the standard. It is a Portuguese management system standard, of course, until now, focused on organizational well-being and happiness, applicable to any organization regardless of the size or sector. It is not a human resources standards. It is transversal to the entire organization. It is compatible with other management systems as it follows the high-level structure of ISO. It clarifies, fits within social responsibility and ECG, with particular impact on the 3 and 8. 3, good health and well-being, and 8, decent work and economic growth. It is important to emphasize that this standard has a particular issue. It's related with the 2 dimensions that I highlight here. We have an objective and a subjective dimension. The objective dimensions refers to the set of the practices that companies implement and monitor it for good people management at work, resulting from business objectives and integral development of employees. The subjective dimensions refers to each person's individual and subjective perception of the multiple dimensions that make up the work experience, resulting from the comparison between perceived results and individual expectation. Thus, we know that well-being cannot be imposed. It needs to be built. The standard recognizes a fundamental reality. An organization can have good practice and unhappy employees, or have satisfied employees by chance without a structured system. The standard connects structured management with human experience of work. Due to this dimension, it is important to understand the definition mentioned in the standard. Well-being at work refers to the satisfaction of a person's physical, mental, social, and cognitive needs and expectation related to their work. And happiness at work is a positive emotional state perceived, felt, and reported by people as associated with their work. We know from psychology that the satisfaction of needs aligned with expectation increase the reported happiness. It is in these needs that the companies are called upon work. So here we have the structure of the standard that many of you recognize because it's aligned with the high-level structure of ISO standards. And I would like to highlight the point 8, the operationalization. Here, each standard becomes unique. So, and I hope you are wondering at this point, saying, how do I make people happier in the workplace? So let's take a look in the next slide. In this chapter, point 8 of the standard, the company must evaluate, plan, implement, and control the factors that promote organizational well-being and happiness. The factors are grouped in two types of needs. Attend, physical and psychosocial. Physical needs are more objective, such as workplace conditions, tools, changing rooms, restrooms, rest breaks, among others. Psychosocial needs are dividing into four categories: the expectation of a job security, belonging, recognition, and self-fulfillment. The greatest challenge are in psychosocial dimension. I think that you are thinking about that. So, and how to do all of this? It's a big challenge. So this picture guides the start point of work to be developed, which is found in the Annex A of the standard that contain a set of guidelines for its implementation. Once that we cannot have this guide in the standard, because standard is requirements, not guidelines. So in the next of the standard, we can find lots of guidelines how to implement this kind of requirements. If we analyze this picture, we can see that in the middle of the picture, we have human needs divided into the 5 items that I presented in the previous slide. So for each need, the relationship with work is identified. For example, without safety means job security, we have no productivity, the green one. So on the bottom line of the text, we have the associated risks, and on the top line of the opportunities. We transform risks into opportunities so that the needs can be met. Using the same example, we have the risk of contractual relationship not being clear and well-defined, while the opportunity is to guarantee a contractual link understood by the worker with rules known by the parties. Another example can I give is related with recognition. If there are no measures known and how bonus, for example, are awarded, how career progression is done, among others, we may run the risk of the worker feeling unrecognized for their work, leading to the feelings of perceived injustice. This is the basis of operationalizing the standard. Work in these factors that promote well-being and experience of work. Okay. With this work in progress, we are changing something, we believe. If we look at many organizations, well-being initiatives exist, but they are often isolated, usually driving by human resources. An activity here, a program there, generally well-intentioned, but disconnect from each other. Decisions are largely intuitive, depending on the sensitive of the leadership at the moment. And impact measurement is limited. Much is done, but very little is measured. And what we know is that if we don't measure, we cannot manage. By adopting this stand, the path is different. We are talking about clear policies, not just good intentions, but formal guidelines adopted as a strategy level. We are talking about defined objectives. We are talking about indicators and continuous improvement. Management is beginning to develop a language for what was traditionally seen as an emotional issue. And this helps to avoid the risk of a cosmetic well-being. So the difference between before and after is this: leaving aside occasional reactions and adopting a systematic approach. The goal is to move from isolated initiatives to a consistent strategy that firmly places well-being on the management agenda. What we know is the standard does not promise happiness to anyone. What it does, it's something more serious and more structured. It promotes conditions that allow people to work with dignity, balance, and purpose. It is a tool for organizational maturity because mature organizations do not manage process alone. They manage people in a conscientious and responsible way. And please accept the trip. And we thank you very much for this.
Now it's time for Gustavo Pontoriero. Gustavo, it's my pleasure to present you. I work closely with Gustavo because Gustavo is involved in IQNet association activities. He's been serving from 2020 as vice president and chair of the Standing Committee Harmonization and Best Practices, which is our technical committee. So I have the privilege to work close by with Gustavo. Gustavo, his day job is a certification manager for management system sustainability and personal competences at IRAM, Argentina, and also an IQNet member, obviously. He has an educational background in textile, and he has been working in IRAM since 1993, holding multiple roles in both standardization and certifications sectors or activities. With more than 30 years of experience in the development and implementation of management systems, Gustavo has played a key role in advancing quality infrastructure at the national and international level. I remember specifically his contributions to international standardization and accreditation through his participation in ISO, developing several standards or contributing to the development of several standards like ISO 9001. He serves actually as the chairman of ISO TC 176 SC3, the subcommittee 3 of the committee responsible for developing all the quality 9001 related standards. And he also acted as one of the IQNet representatives to IAF Technical Committee. Thank you, Gustavo, for being there. We look forward to understand a little bit more about rocks.
Thank you, Pedro. Thank you for the presentation, and thank you, IQNet, for the opportunity to be in this webinar presenting a project. What we are going to present here in the webinar is a project which is arriving to the final stage. Is something that we develop in IRAM as a new product. But we are at the final stage of launching the project. It was launched to the market 2 days ago, so I have some information for you to share. But the idea is to share with you the idea developing process, the evaluation of the project, and the idea of the formal value proposal from the ROCS product in IRAM. So this is a project that came from an idea tank we have in our organization. The intention was to find a new product in the organization different from the traditional certification processes, and something that can be of use of our organization and valuable for the market to reposition our brand in the market in a different way with different expertise. Because our brand IRAM in Argentina is 90 years organizations. We became 90 years last year in 2025, and we are recognized in the market, very well known. We have a very well known mark in the market, but we need to reconfigure a new setup of the position of the market. So sustainability is a topic that is arising over the table when everyone make research and what is the interest of the market. Sustainability appears always in the last IQNet market surveys and census and so on. Sustainability is one of the main topics that are arising from the bottom to the top in the mind of the market and the business opportunities. So we found there a topic to work on because our brand is not so much related with sustainability products. So we analyzed that market. We have a clear market need to focus on sustainability. We identified there was a lot of greenwashing on the way companies are expressing their commitment or their work in sustainability. There is a lot of lack of knowledge and technical capacity in this issue. Nobody knows exactly, well, not nobody, but a few people knows exactly how to work on this. We have a multiplicity of models comparable or not to each other. We have also a distrust in the market on the declarations of the company's value chains requirements, but distrust on the declarations, and also organizational identity and image was important. So we said that we need to create something new on sustainability related with the object to make more strength our brand IRAM, like our brand, but we decided to create a product which finally was called ROX, but it's not IRAM, it's ROX, produced by IRAM or developed by IRAM, but IRAM. So that's the main. That's one of the issues. Strong capacity. We have strong capacity and technical competence because we are involved in standardization process in all the technical forums here around the world, so on and so on. We have some distinction on the brand. Our brand is very strong in our vision, and the idea is use this strong brand to be more strong in sustainability issues. We have value recognitions and career and reliability and reliability. And we have also as organizations transversal presence in government, chambers, scientific organization, conformity evaluation, standardization, and so on. So also we have the access to the knowledge in this issue. So the idea was to develop a product with its own identity, as I mentioned. With finally we call it ROX. The scope was of verification of organization commitment on sustainability. Sustainability is not a certification process. It's not a verification process against a specific requirements document or a specific scheme. Is something that we use to verify the information provided by the companies that want to be inside the registry. The form we decided to do it to give the product is to be a technological tool with environmental of belongings organization that demonstrate their commitment to the sustainability. And the idea is that this platform of the ROX to be reference point for changes areas, evaluation of both private and government suppliers, and so on. Our intention is this platform to be also a place where organizations can find information about sustainability and make some benchmarking with other peers or competitors or different regions or so on. The idea also is to be a self-managed tool, so the company can enter to the platform, register there, provide information to be evaluated, and make some interaction with us in the verification process, but always self-managed process in the platform. So with this overview, we create a cross-cutting project through all the organization where the business area was involved, technical specialists, commercial part, communication and marketing, and IT, and beyond. It was a external provider for the development of the website and the functionality of the product to create this self-managed process. The legal part also was very important in the process because we create the brand, we create all the legal registration of the brand of the product, and the administration and finance process also is involved in the project because as a self-managed process, the payments and all the invoicing and so on are automatically managed by the platform also. So the idea was to make a cross-cutting project within all the organization and with the support of the high management of the organization. With this idea, we start the project and we start to work in the developing on the product. And the product now it looks like this. This is a picture, but drugs is online now. Unfortunately, at the moment, it's only in Spanish, but we are working on the translation of the platform to English also. And what you can do there is to have information about what is drugs, what is the idea of the product, what you can do in this platform. You have organizations registry of the list and information about the organization that are parts of drugs, and information about how to join and so on. So you have information for the users and for the market about the organization part of the product. The idea here is the project, as I mentioned before, has been launched 2 days ago. Before that, we create the specifications and all the design specification for the platform. And a few months ago, we started pilot process or pilot test with some organization that wanted to participate. With that organization, we discover or we realize that we need we had a lot of things to correct in order to give more functionality and characteristics to the platform, but mainly we realized that the work we did with the definition of the model, this technical model for the classification of the companies in the registry needed to be improved in relation with the knowledge we expect to have the market about sustainability. So with that result, we reconfigure the model, and we made the platform much more friendly to the users, because we realized that the market needed to have a lot more information related to the issues they need to present to be part of the platform. So with that in mind, we reconfigured the product and we launched it a few days ago. Now we are in the launch process, and we have some months in front to have feedback from the market and to work on the final or the more suitable version of the platform. The idea behind the project, I speak about the characteristics of the product, but behind that characteristic, that functionality of the product, we developed some technical information. We thought it was very important for us to have technical documentation, which is free to download in the platform and available for the companies that want to be part of the platform. We developed a maturity model with the specifications, with clear specification based on IWA 48 from ISO, which is a document from ISO that establish a maturity model for implementing ESG criteria. And we took some information from there and we create a maturity model for ROCs. This documentation is very important, is the basis for the classification of the company within the platform, and is the way we can show to the users a path for continual improvement, a comparison process, a comparison parameter to the other companies in the same registry, and so on. So also we realized after the pilot process that we need to be more clear on the documentation we need to enter to the registry, because the basic documentation we ask to the companies to demonstrate they are committed with the sustainability are context analysis, risk evaluation or risk assessment process, and mainly a materiality declaration for sustainability processes and an action plan. With those 4 documents, the companies can demonstrate that they are committed with sustainability, and the grade of commitment is defined by the maturity model from committed to managed. There are three levels in the maturity model, and the way that the companies are showing the platform are related with this maturity model in relation with the maturity model and the ESG criteria. So we produce a lot of information which is available in the platform and is the basis for the companies to register. It was a very hard work to produce this information. We have access to the technical documents from ISO and so on, but anyway, it was difficult to establish clear the parameters to qualify the companies in the 3 criteria of ESG. But we work a lot in the practical operation of this qualification during the pilot process, and we think we are okay with the evaluation process we have in the platform, and the qualification is committed, formalized, or managed. Committed is related with the declaration of the company, what they are doing, mainly in this with these 4 documents I mentioned before: the context analysis, risk assessment, materiality definition, and action plans. And if they have different ways to formalize these documents, like procedures, like use of different standards, maybe international standard, maybe sector-specific standard, and so on. They can move to formalize or to manage in the scale. So that is the maturity model we designed. We made a lot of information to the customers to have the guidance to understand how is the evaluation performed. And after that, we have, sorry, this is very slow. After that, we have, sorry, the evidence with the process for registering is, as I mentioned, online registration, providing context, risk, materiality, and action plans. The evidence we require is to reduce the impact and comply with the international regulation initiatives and so on. And we perform a technical review for this information, which is evaluated, and we produce a qualification of the company in the platform. After that, the company is uploaded to the platform and can use some identification material, which this mark as a sustainable organization, ESG, and they have also a QR code that drives to the user to the qualification in the platform in the platform from the company. The qualification or the tag in the platform of a company. This is an example, real example from a water provider here in Buenos Aires. This qualification is in the website, and information about the company and the evaluation process. And if we go here for more info, the companies have the opportunity to upload the certificates, reports, and so on, to provide more information to the market. So the idea of the product is to be a reference in the market for purchasing processes, for the companies to be compared by others, and for work in the sustainability process for the companies in a continuous improvement. So that's it. Thank you for the opportunity, and I open to the questions.
Alex Gershon, he is head of marketing, communications, and public affairs, and an expert of sustainable business conduct at the Swiss Association for Quality Management System, SQS, that you already heard about at the beginning with Professor Hofer. Alex is also an associated researcher at the University of Bern and a lecturer for sustainable development and sustainable business conduct at the University of St. Gallen. In these roles, he teaches, consults, and publishes on standards for sustainability assessment and reporting. And I guess, Alex, following Gustavo's lead, it's also your turn to speak about, or to present us something related to sustainability.
Absolutely. Thank you, Pedro. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present shortly the Sustainability Performance Standard, which is an ISO-based management system for sustainability and non-financial reporting. The SQS, I don't know, I wasn't there at the presentation of my colleague, Mr. Hofer. Maybe just super briefly, I don't know what he said about SQS. We've been in conformity assessment, right, for about 40 years, and really management system standards are sort of at the core of our business, of our competence. And that's why that's important, because we thought, okay, if we want to help SMEs, and SMEs, small, medium-sized enterprises, make 90% of our customers. If we want to help them with on the issue of sustainability, if we want to be able to make a difference, sort of, we need to work with what we know best, and that is the application and the conformity assessment of ISO management systems standards. So yeah, this slide I can skip, and I go straight to the what and why ISO for ESG. What do we mean by this, and what's the relevance of it all? What do we see as main challenge? What was sort of the start of our thinking, or of the process of developing the sustainability performance standard? It all started with the observation that business as usual is just no longer an option, that we need a comprehensive understanding of business and to take off our the blinkers, which we use for horse races. And of course, that also explains the particular challenge, because we miss our blinkers. Blinkers are there to help us focus and not to get overwhelmed by the complexity, by the variety of things we see or are confronted with. And so we need to take them off. And at the same time, we need to cope with the complexity posed by sustainability. And so our approach to this challenge is the following. On the one hand, because of our own experience and competence, but also because of the mere fact that ISO management system standards are applied and recognized by millions of organizations around the world, and because they are there to reduce complexity and to reach specific goals such as quality, environmental performance, etc., you know very well, we thought, okay, we take this as starting point of our approach, of our solution. And we thought, okay, we need to find, or at least search, a new equilibrium, which we abbreviate with ISO 4ESG, which means that we have to broaden the purpose of a management system to reach comprehensive sustainability goals. We need to at least open up the blinkers a little bit if we don't want to take them off completely. And at the same time, of course, we should not increase the complexity to an extent that threatens the effectivity and efficiency of the management system and ultimately the survival of the company. So ISO 4ESG, using ISO management system standards for sustainability, means for us searching and finding a new equilibrium. And just so you see where we position, how we develop and where we position the sustainability performance standard, we took the harmonized structure, which you see up here. We thought, okay, that is common to all management system standards and to all certifiable ones. And now, instead of aiming or of specifying the management system in order to reach goals in the area of quality, of the environment management, of occupational health and safety, etc., we want to use the harmonized structure for sustainability purposes. And here, what is important in this depiction is if you go from the left to the right, you enhance the complexity of the management system. And 9001 is a bit less demanding, say less complex than 14001, which in turn is less complex than the 45001, etc. And so SPS is really positioned as a more accessible and easier to apply management system standard than the 9001, so that you see where we come from and how we want to help SMEs to cope with on the one hand to pursue more comprehensive sustainability goals, and at the same time keep complexity under control. Now, how do we put this ISO 4ESG thought into practice? The SPS is our offer, is our way of putting ISO 4ESG into practice. And here you see in the end, the PDCA cycle, but an enhanced, developed PDCA cycle, which makes up really the SPS. We start with the double materiality analysis. And Pedro, you asked whether ROX is linked in one way or the other to international sustainability standards. There, we do not. In the end, there are different ways, of course, of conducting a double materiality analysis. What we do there, we refer to ESRS, because we think for Switzerland in Europe, ESRS the way they suggest how a double materiality analysis is to be conducted with respect to certain topics to be included. We refer to these standards, right? That's how we conduct the double materiality analysis, or rather the organizations that work with the SPS. And then it's very much about what suggests the harmonized structure, defining strategy, goals and methods, planning and implementing measures. And then what is important, we want the SPS to be very focused, sort of a focused approach. I think coping with complexity implies that companies work on the most relevant, the most material sustainability issues. That's why we put the double materiality analysis at the very beginning. And then what is important also, it's about measuring how perform regarding these material topics, thanks to specific measures. Users of the SPS work with the tool ESG2Go, which I will present shortly, which is a very handy tool with the very same target group, SMEs. And so they work with this tool for the measurement of the ESG or of the impact. Afterwards, we have the certification of the sustainability management system, and last but not least, the verification of the rating. And all of this is included in one PDCA cycle. What's our value proposition? It consists really of three propositions. It's the focus on performance, it's quality and credibility, and it's continuous improvement. More concretely, the SPS places particular emphasis on concrete measures and visible results with regard to material topics. Complexity, I think the double materiality analysis is a very powerful and I would say indispensable tool to reduce complexity, to make sustainability manageable. So companies develop clear steps, implement them, and evaluate their impact in order to ensure progress, which is sustained. That's the first value proposition. The second one is that, on the one hand, with the certification of the SPS, a company gets confirmed by a credible, competent conformity assessment body that it is working strategically and consistently on its sustainability. And with the verification of the rating, on the one hand, you ensure the quality of the data with which you work. So there's a value sort of inside the company, a management value, you could say. And on the other hand, of course, you've got the credibility with stakeholders outside the company. So it's about quality and credibility of what you do and what you communicate. And last but not least, of course, it's about continuous improvement. The SPS ensures that you don't generate data just for the sake of generating data, just for the sake of reporting, but rather that you make good use of this data as part or in an iterative process for continuous improvement and eventually for a long-term success of the company. So these are sort of the three elements of our value proposition. Now I quickly check how many more slides I've got. I think 5 more minutes and I'm done. Yes, the SPS requirements, they are very, I would say, manageable. That's the checklist, and that's sort of the whole normative basis of the sustainability performance standard. And you can download it actually for free. And there you see, we actually we really take the requirements of the harmonized structure and we complement, say, the harmonized structure with specific requirements that are necessary for for implementing material focused measurable measures in terms of sustainability. So the requirements are very, if you download the checklist, you will be you will realize that you are already familiar with many of these requirements. ESG2Go, maybe just one slide on this. As I said, that's a digital tool which covers the 3 areas of sustainability, E, S, and G. It was developed and is still continuously being improved by a team of academic scholars and researchers here in Switzerland in collaboration with SMEs. It was actually developed with and for SMEs. It's very easily manageable. What is important is that basically all the necessary data to fill in the ESG2Go form is already available in an SME. And what's really cool, it's got a benchmarking function. So if you fill in the ESG2Go form, you see also where you stand in comparison with other similar companies. And SQS is the preferred verification partner of ESG2Go. And sort of we're also in the steering committee so that we can, on the one hand, ensure the quality of the verification of ESG2Go. And on the other hand, sort of we also provide input from our audits in order to continuously improve this tool. So that's the tool we work with. Fundamentally, SPS, the Sustainability Performance Standard, is open to other ESG rating tools. So that's not exclusive. However, for the moment, we work with this one because we've made just the best experiences with this one. Now what? Well, potential users of SPS, if there are companies, organizations among you that think, hey, we want to start with an easy tool, which is based on internationally recognized standards, then go to the SPS landing page. And there, basically, you get all the information you need, including the process of working and then setting up the management system and certification and the verification of the ESG rating. That's what you see. And then the SPS is also, if there are CBs among you that think, hey, sort of that's something interesting also for SMEs in our country, we are very happy to collaborate. The SPS was not made for a specific country. Switzerland for us is the most important one. Most of our customers are here in Switzerland, but because the SPS is developed sort of on the basis of the harmonized structure of ISO management system standards, many of your clients, users, will be able to work with this. So if there's a CB that thinks, hey, sort of we've got already the ISO management system standards in our portfolio, but nothing that really is linked to these standards, which helps SMEs in sort of setting up or in planning and implementing measures for sustainability, we are very happy to have a chat with you to see whether that could be of interest for you. So we're very much open both to customers, but also to partners that want to work with the SPS. And that was it. Thank you.
We had 2 presentations on sustainability, and now we changed topic completely, right, Keller? Keller Schuttinger, she's a senior business development manager at Eagle Certification Group in the United States, also a proud member of IQNet, bringing 7 years of experience driving growth and forging strategic partnerships across the food and beverage industry. Keller excels at identifying new business opportunities, cultivating lasting client relationships, and guiding organizations through emergent certification programs, ensuring they select the standards that best fit their unique operation. Keller, and I know that personally, has a deep expertise in SQF, Safe Quality Food Standards. She played a key role in launching SQF Fundamental Verification Assessment Program. She has successfully supported numerous manufacturers and suppliers to assessments, combining her business insights with practical hands-on guidance to help companies achieve conformance and operational excellence. Kaylor is passionate about advancing food safety across the industry and is dedicated to empowering organizations of all sizes to build strong, sustainable food safety cultures, and, if I may add, through assurance, through trust, through conformity assessment. And so this said, Kaylor, a pleasure to have you here. Welcome, Kaylor.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So as Pedro mentioned, I'll be presenting on the SQF Fundamentals Verification, or FVA program. So first, starting off, let's talk a little bit more about FVA and why was this even developed. So as more and more retailers start to prioritize having smaller businesses or local businesses represented within their supply chain and within their stores or locations, right? We want to make sure that these retailers, right, are impacting their local community. And we saw a few challenges with that when we were introducing very small businesses to this marketplace. Some of these key challenges that we identified were that for very small businesses, very small food manufacturers, right, there's a high cost and barrier to entry for these local businesses when thinking about traditional food safety certification audits. And then as well, for many of these very small businesses, right, they might only have a handful of employees at their facilities, right? So they might have some limited food safety or compliance awareness. And then as well, one thing that we also realized is some of these small businesses, this certainly isn't the case in every single company, right? But there's also some geographic or travel related constraints, right? When we think about like a traditional GMP audit, sometimes when you're accessing these really remote locations, right, it might take a full day of travel for that auditor to travel on either side of that one-day GMP audit to visit that facility. So as we were brainstorming what could be a solution to this, how did we want the FVA program to work? We wanted to make sure that we had a couple core focuses in this approach, right? So how do we enable affordable GMP verification for these very small businesses, right? How do we ensure that they're ready for retail approval, right? How do we expand our assessor's reach to these remote or hard to access locations? And how do we support those retailers to desires to have these very small businesses or local suppliers represented within their supply chain? So now that we've talked a little bit about why this was developed, what we wanted to get out of this program, let's talk a little bit more about the SQF framework. So as I mentioned prior to this, SQF is a GFSI benchmark standard, right? It's based out of North America, and they've really had a developed framework for many years now. So you guys might be familiar with like the GMAP programs, right? Which could be like the SQF Fundamentals Basic or the SQF Fundamentals Intermediate programs. They also have the GFSI benchmark standard and the SQF food safety program. And then they also have their quality code. So where does this fit within it? So as I've mentioned before, this program is meant for very small businesses. So it kind of starts off the program now, and this graphic has some nice examples of how these programs differ from each other, where it's a half-day internal audit review assessment, right? And this can be a really good starting point where it lowers that barrier of entry to these very small businesses. So that's how it fits within this framework and where we would kind of start. So let's talk a little bit more about what actually is this SQF FVA program. We've talked about our goals, where it fits within the framework, but what actually is it? So the SQF FVA program is a remote early stage assessment tailored for these very small businesses that are just beginning their food safety journey and starting to engage with retailers. So the first, and what I would argue one of the most important steps in the SQF FEA program, is to determine their eligibility requirements. So I have a brief representation and description of what those eligibility requirements are. And they can be quite complex, right? But essentially what it boils down to is a facility first needs to be identified as if they are qualified to do this program. So for this, we utilize the definition of a very small business defined by the Food Safety Modernization Act, which boils down to companies have to have less than $1 million for a 3-year average of sales and the value of their inventory. And that's how we define that very small business. So that's going to be our first step in determining if a facility is able to participate in this program. And then getting into it a little bit further, SQF FVA, the program is based on the SQF fundamental standard in their checklist. Since it's an early stage food safety program that can help businesses gradually progress towards full GFSI certification and readiness. So with that, within the SQF fundamentals program, businesses can choose between the basic or intermediate code options, depending on not only their customer needs, but also potentially their system maturity. So now that we know a little bit more about what the FVA program is, let's talk a little bit more about some of these differences and what makes this program unique. So as I've been saying, and maybe as you guys have been noticed, I've been using the terms assessment and assessor very intentionally throughout this program or throughout this presentation. And the reason why that is because the SQF FVA is truly a remote assessment. Comparatively to an SQF fundamentals or an SQF edition 9 audit, which is their GFSI benchmarked audit, traditionally we see food safety audits being on-site audits. As well, the SQF FVA program is also a half-day assessment comparatively to SQF fundamentals or SQF edition 9, which could be anywhere from a day to 2 or more days, just depending on the site's complexities and their scope of certification. With all of these programs, they do receive a report. A report is generated as a part of the process. And then one of the biggest differences between SQF FVA is the outcome of the assessment process. So a certificate is not generated as a part of the SQF FVA program. And rather, since it's an assessment, what we generate is actually what's called a letter of declaration. As long as they pass the assessment process, they do all their corrective actions, etc. And the SQF fundamentals and SQF edition 9, of course, will generate certificates. So now that we understand a little bit more about the SQF FVA program, and what makes it different between what we traditionally might offer in a food safety system, let's talk a little bit more about the SQF FVA steps. So the first step in the process, right, is for the site to, prepare for the certificate or for the assessment process, and they'll complete what's called like a self-assessment. So they'll conduct their internal audit or self-assessment to either the SQF fundamentals basic or intermediate checklist. They'll prepare all of their documentation, gather records, etc., preparing for the assessment process. And then we'll come in, EGLE as the certification body will come in and do the independent review for accuracy, and a portion of this will also be remote visual inspection. During that assessment process, we'll review things like documentation. We'll make sure that we'll have a virtual meeting leveraging like Zoom technologies and things like that to meet with the site representative. And during that assessment process, we'll verify their competency to assess and mitigate the food safety hazards. We'll resolve any questions from our documentation review and review of their self-assessment, and we'll evaluate any additional records or documentation as needed during that assessment process. From there, we'll give the site guidance and of course, any non-conformances or corrective actions that need to be made that were identified during the assessment process. And then as long as they've passed the assessment, they've gone through the post-assessment process, then the verification declaration will be issued. Again, it's not a certificate and it will be valid for 1 year. It is a product-specific letter of declaration, and it's non-transferable to another site. So now that we understand a bit more about the steps to the SQF FEA program, let's dive in a little bit deeper and see what an example of an assessment plan would look like. So as I've been saying throughout this presentation, the SQF FEA program is about a half-day assessment. On average, as we've continued to pilot this program and do more assessments, generally speaking, it's about a 4 to 6 hour assessment on average. It just depends on how smoothly the assessment goes, how prepared the site is, etc. But that's the general time frame that we estimate and tell our customers. And how this process starts is there's going to be an introductory phone call between the site and the assessor. They'll make sure they've done their self-assessment, they've submitted it to the office, right? They'll make sure that they're ready, they're prepared, answering any questions, doing kind of like a tech check, so to speak, right? To make sure that we don't have any issues during the day of the assessment and making sure that they're just ready to go prior to the assessment process. During that call, or potentially even after, we're going to request some documents prior to the assessment process that the assessor is going to review. And then now diving into what actually is going to happen that day of the assessment. So we'll start off with an opening meeting. Then we'll move into a virtual tour of the plant, verifying GMPs, different things like that. And then we'll move into the bulk of our assessment time, which is going to be reviewing of your documentation, sampling of your records, etc., doing that mandatory review and the system sampling requirements. From there, we'll have a closing meeting with the assessor and the site, and the assessor will have some time to write up their executive summary or their report, as well as any NCRs or gaps that may have been identified during the assessment process. From there, after the assessment process is completed, they also do have some time when the site does submit their corrective actions. The assessor has some time to review those corrective actions, close those all out, and then make the decision for the letter of declaration. So rewinding this back to 2023 when we started this program, right? We have these goals, we have these examples of what the assessment plan will look like, but can it actually work? So the way that we decided to test this is we did a small pilot program. We did the pilot program with 8 very small suppliers across multiple sectors. We had spice manufacturers, we had bakery clients, we had cheese manufacturers, etc. We had a very wide array of different industries represented in this process. We prepared for the assessment process. We made sure that the clients were prepared for the assessment process. They had an understanding of what would be going on. We completed those assessments. And then we did a lot of analysis after the assessment process on lessons learned, tweaks that we could make in the process, best practices, especially with leveraging remote technologies within this assessment process and what works best with that, right? What were the outcomes of the assessment process? Did sites do well? Were they prepared, right? Did they have the right information? And then one big thing with this was making sure that we had retailer confidence in the program. So as I mentioned, we partnered with SQF on this program, and also a retailer that focuses on these very small businesses and having local suppliers in their supply chain and in their stores. So how can we ensure that we're appropriately mitigating the risk at these facilities, right? And they're mitigating the risk within their supply chain as well. And then also with this program, how can we embed food safety and food safety fundamentals early on with these very small businesses and making sure that they get a little bit more familiar with these food safety requirements, right? And be introduced into the food safety auditing framework, right? And then also, how can we sustain the program? Can this program work long term, right? Is there a need out in the industry for this? So with that, we considered all of those items as well as, what did our participants say? What were their thoughts on that? Did they feel this was beneficial to them? So I have a few testimonials from some of the pilot program participants. So bear with me as I read these to you, but we had some feedback from Cam Loyette from Honeymoon Chocolates. He said the program was easy and set us up for success with future SQF assessments. We were very nervous that our procedures were not adequate as this was our first third-party assessment separate from the FDA in St. Louis City. I am thankful Eagle was so willing to accommodate us with scheduling as well. Our assessor was very forthcoming with our current processes and minor changes needed to be made. Thank you. So again, a company just starting out having very little experience with the third-party assessment process and in the process of going through this. And then Denise Wheel from Damn Good English Muffins. Our experience working with Eagle Certification Group was excellent. They were incredibly helpful in preparing our team for success. As a small business, the option for a virtual assessment made the process financially feasible and seamless, ensuring we achieved third-party declaration efficiently. So again, focusing on making sure that this is an affordable assessment for these very small businesses, and we were lowering that cost to entry. So what's happening now? So where have we gone since this 2023 pilot process? So in 2023, at the beginning, we completed 8 pilot assessments. In total in 2023, after we did launch the program, we did have 19 total assessments completed. In 2024, we had 54% growth in these assessments. And again, part of our challenge was making sure this would set people up with the SQF framework. So 42% of those sites either upgraded to the SQF FEA intermediate requirements, so that higher level of requirement, or the SQF fundamentals on-site audit. In 2025, we saw 45% growth in these assessments. 27% of those sites upgraded to the SQF FEA intermediate or the SQF fundamentals on-site audit. And then in 2026, just in a couple short months, we're very, very excited. Our first company that has gone through this SQF FEA program will actually be upgrading to the SQF food safety on-site GFSI benchmarked audit. So again, showing how companies can mature through this framework and continue to grow their business and mature in their food safety requirements as well. And that concludes my slides. Thank you.
Marco, last but not least, he's a professional with over 10 years of experience in the automotive sector and a solid experience, 5 years track record at RENA, with a journey that began managing training projects at major automotive clients. Over time, responsibilities expanded as much as so did many of our speakers today, Marco, to include pricing management and the coordination of category services within the certification business of RENA. Today, his focus is on leading the development and management of digital certification services, combining deep industry expertise with strong drive for innovation, operational excellence, and value creation for global stakeholders. And I might say, again, also in alignment with the current hot topic of the moment, which is sustainability. But not just sustainability. I think Marco's presentation will address 2 hot topics of the moment. From one side, digitalization and IT and IT support, and from the other side, sustainability. And we ended up with Kaylor talking about the use of technology for assurance. And I think, Marco, you will wrap that up and you'll bring it to the next level. Thank you a million for being there, Marco.
Thank you, Pedro. Hello, everyone. I am Marco Palumbo, Head of Digital Services in RINA and Head of Product Management Coordination. So the cooperation between technical, compliance, and IT units is clear in our work. Okay. We talk about digital assurance, and the definition for us in RINA of digital assurance. In the next slide, you can see what is for us the digital assurance. So it's an evolution of the traditional certification process that use digital methods to verify and ensure large amounts of data. So if we think about web platform and system that manage data, we can use that to validate and verify data for specific claims. Okay, and in particular, we can talk about sustainability claims in our case. So in an age of data like our, it's important use data to support and help audits activities. In the next slide, I present you our digital certification services. In particular, you can see that we cover different sectors, different tasks. First of all, we have two web platforms that are linked with sustainability claims. First of all, sustainability platform. In this platform, we monitor data about ESG claims, and in particular, we talk about carbon footprint, neutrality, recycled, and energy renewable. The second one is the CO2 reduction projects. That is an important solution because this year we have launched two important features, and we talk about the possibility for our clients to manage carbon credits and to manage transactions about carbon credits. So we have a sort of portfolio of transactions. The third is data verification platform. The data verification platform is a software that we use in voluntary food and is able to manage data like a blockchain. So it's important, for example, in a wine and oil supply chain. We have Vision 360 degrees. That is a new solution for our clients that allows them to analyze, manage, and see their data about certificates, audits, non-conformities, recommendations. We have two versions available. One is free and included in our offer, and the other premium have new features for clients like benchmark, like corrective actions, and so on. We have drone inspections activities, outdoor and indoor, in our digital service portfolio. We have other two services like ESG assessment, where we validate ESG questionnaires for our clients. And in particular, we have an important project with Eni, that is a national oil and gas company in Italy. And a circular economy is another digital solution where our client can manage data about recycled materials, and in particular is important for supply chain in, for example, food sector. Okay, Pedro, you can pass to the next slide. We talk about the process of certification and the process of digital activities. It's important for us maintain separated the activities, the rules. We first step with our clients is to identify the certification schemes After that, we start with our activities about the certification. The final step is the release of certification, the traditional certification. In this step, we, of course, manage documents, visit sites of our clients, and so on. After that, we can pass to the configuration of the digital platform. In this step, it's important to involve the IT team of our clients that work together with our IT team and with my team to set up the platform that realize the real-time certificate, okay, using, of course, all data that we have validated in certification steps. So it's important that we start with traditional activities, and after that we pass to digital conformity process. Next slide, Pedro, please. Thank you. In this slide, we can find the characteristics that we can use in our digital service, and we talk about our product sustainability platform. We have carbon footprint, so the use of method to calculate the emission of CO2 for product. Carbon neutrality and the use of carbon credits to neutralize production. The content of recycled materials that can calculate the percentage of recycled and the pre and post consumer materials, the energy footprint, so the consumers of energy during the phases of production, and the use of renewable energy, for example, with the geo values. After that, we can pass to the digital workflow example in the next slide. In this presentation, you can see how is important to divide our activities. On the left, you can see the activities of certification with our audit team that visit the plant of our client and calculate, validate, and verify production phase for carbon footprint, the carbon credits for neutralization, the amount of recycled material, and the use of energy sources. After that, we have the release of certification. The data, the methods are in this phase uploaded on our platform, our sustainable platform. And the clients pass to us the bundle of the products. Our platform work the data of specific bench with the methods uploaded in the platform, and after that can release a validation opinion in a digital way. So the output is a QR code, a URL that is public, and in some case our client stamp the QR code on the product, and through the QR code the end customer, so the final customer, can consult, can see all data about the sustainability characteristics of the specific product. So we pass from a traditional certification and general values to a specific values of the product. In the next slide, I have represent the characteristics of our digital validation opinion. Is a QR code, human readable, machine readable, of course. We work the data from the transportation document. So in the time where our client give us the data and the values of the product in transportation phase. Of course, all characteristics of our digital opinion are relevant in terms of regulation. We think about, for Europe, digital product passport, for example, reply to all characteristics of traceability, security of IT and digital information like data trust is like a blockchain, if we want to say. And in the next slide, I represent an example of our digital opinion. The QR code, of course, works. If you want, you can try with your phone to shoot a photo on the screen. Through this QR code, you arrive at URL of a product. In this URL, you can see all the characteristics of the sustainability of this product. In this example, we talk about a bundle of steel. Okay, so you can see the carbon footprint, so the CO2 emission, the carbon neutrality, and in particular, the carbon credits used to neutralize the bundle. And our platform is able to calculate the recycled materials and the energy consumption and energy renewable use in the production phases. Okay. After that, we can pass to the slide of demo version. Our service, the sustainability platform, has a video, a demonstration, a demo version that is available on our website. This is the homepage of our solution. You can see that in the left side of the screen, you have the different claims like CO2 management, recycled materials, energy, that open windows in specific features like the methods, like the carbon credits portfolio, and so on. We have a KPI and lists of DDT, of course, and a section of graphs for our clients. Of course, our solution is able to communicate with systems of our clients machine to machine, but the homepage and the possibility for our clients to visit the solution and see graphs and data is important. I think that we have the last slide where you can find the advantages of our solution in terms of regulatory context, because of course our rule like third party is important in digitalization of the sustainability claims, and we can of course have different data to communicate to Europe, for example, a database of digital product passport. Second point is the customer's loyalty, because it's important for our clients increase their brand awareness with a certification body partnership. Other point is the return on investment, because of course the digital solution have a price that is for a clear reason separated from the certification processes, but this price can cover with a premium price for a certified product. We think, for example, about the green steel that have an higher price in contrast with the normal steel. And the last point is the opportunity for our clients to find new clients and move to new countries, for example, where the characteristics of sustainability for some products are required, and the opportunities to go through new markets. Okay.
From my side, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the end of today's webinar, so allow me to briefly reflect on what we have heard and hopefully what we have learned together. Over the past few hours, we traveled from Switzerland to Malaysia, from Portugal to Argentina, from the United States to Italy, and across topics ranging from healthcare quality, Muslim-friendly tourism, organizational happiness, ESG maturity models, and food safety for small businesses. And now at the end, the very relevant digital assurance. I'm pretty sure that you would agree with me that while the schemes presented today different in scope sector, several common issues clearly emerge, and I want to address those. First, innovation in conformity assessment is increasingly purpose-driven. Many of our speakers today mentioned that we are addressing clear needs from the market, addressing real societal needs, responding to very real challenges such as patient safety, inclusion, well-being, sustainability, and trust in ESG information. Second, we have seen how innovation does not necessarily mean complexity. On the contrary, some of the schemes that were presented today actually propose a step-by-step approach or a maturity level approach to make schemes more mature, more accessible, more practical, and more relevant, especially for SMEs and organizations at early stages of maturity. Third, credibility remains central. Through clinical quality labels to management system certification, verification models, or digital assurance, all of the initiatives today reinforce the role of independent, transparent, and evidence-based conformity assessment in building trust amongst the stakeholders. And finally, today's presentations, and I had to say something about this, obviously illustrate the strengths of the IQNet network. And I will adapt for today a little bit our usual signature by saying today it was clear that we moved from local innovation with global relevance, supported by collaboration, shared values, and a commitment to excellence. I would like to sincerely thank our speakers for sharing not only their schemes, but also their experience, their enthusiasm, and of course, thank you, those of you who joined us and stayed engaged throughout the webinars. I hope this webinar has provided you with inspiration, but also concrete ideas and new perspectives on how innovative schemes can add value in your own organizations, in your own markets. On behalf of IQNet Association, thank you for joining us today. We wish you a pleasant rest of the day and look forward to continuing the conversation in future IQNet events. Thank you and goodbye.